Hello? Oh, this looks promising. Aha. Oh, far out. And now the webcam is busted. Oh, getting there. I think I unplugged everything. Can hear me. Cool. G'day, mate. G'day. All right. I think everything's working now. All right, let's get rid of Rosehill. I don't think there's much to see. Probably the first couple of races were okay. Track was like a 7, then it went downhill really quick, but it probably wasn't that bad in the first. Then obviously rain came and it was diabolical. Emirates probably the main horse to look at. Franz Joseph as well, but track was pretty cast by then. And then the last race, completely cast. Then I'll look at Eagle Farm.
There it is. There it was. Now they're right. And they're off and racing. Delexo was last out of the game.
Up there, so I'm somehow reading it. Peacock Callum, he's gone to YouTube, hey? Jump to YouTube today. Got RedTube on one screen and YouTube on the other.
Flight Crew on the improved, Whiteout going to 4 pretty swiftly. Then came Yiska, Sabrenko Park behind. Midfield, everyone's a star from So Good, So Cool. Delexo racing up on the inside. They're followed then by
filling up the car.
Back in the field in the early stages to.
Yeah, so this race they went. They actually come home pretty quick. Time's crazy, but as I said, these times are a bit. Take it with a grain of salt, I think. The way this the rating and track was and the way the rain came after this race. But a lot of people will struggle to line these times up, so be careful that people may overplay these races just because the times were insane the first couple of races.
Flight Crew, Mile Louise and Ningaloo Star next, 300 metres to run. Kryptonite kicking, Flight Crew's trying. They're followed then by Yiska starting to warm up. And Yiska comes down the middle of the track to take the lead. Everyone's a star and So Good, So Cool making late headway. But it's Yiska drawing clear. Yiska wins the midway from Everyone's a Star and Flight Crew clung on to third, IPO fourth.
Yiska's been threatening to do something like this for a while. Finally got the right run, sort of perfect run, just off speed with cover. Got to what you'd say is probably the right part of the track. Every possible chance, really, but still a good performance and can certainly win another race like this. There's no doubt about it. So Good, So Cool first up. It's probably the only other horse in the race that was interesting. Like it was first up. And the others have all sort of been around the mark. Everyone's a star, very good again. Ningaloo Star racing well. Flight Crew going pretty well. Kryptonite was first up and it sort of led up on the inside. So maybe it's a horse that can improve off that and certainly looks a horse that can measure up to midway grade. So maybe 1, 2, 3 of the horses that are interesting. Sabrenko is a better effort. Delexo, they're kind of horses that have floated around this grade for a while, the rest of them. I don't think Queen of the Mile's going as well as it can. IPO is okay, but it sort of sucked us in. I don't think, pretty hard to come into it, to be honest. But Winner Dominant can win a getting in this grade. This horse was good enough first up. Thought it just peaked last sort of 150 when it let down and sprinted okay. And Kryptonite peaked as well. So these two are probably your improvers, I'd say. As I said, sort of Sabrenko, does it saying it's back and going okay, or is it scary on the form? But as you said, the sort of the times come up sort of 10, 11 lengths above. That's just off the interim times. So that, this race could easily get played through the roof. The next race come up 20 above, and then the last 2 races 10 below when the rains come. So, I'm just saying I don't agree with these times, but this is what a lot of the rating sort of based people will come up with, really obscure sections and ratings out of these meetings. When will PVL and other Muppet Metro administrators construct a roof for all metropolitan tracks? Well, sent you proof of me filling up the car. That's great, mate. I'm so appreciative of that. When you think that Augusta National can have it can snow there for 3 months of the year or whatever it is, and they've got underground heating and what do they call them? Underground airflow machines or whatever to keep the grass alive and greens in perfect condition all year round to make sure that and we can't get a racetrack to handle 10 mil of rain. It's pretty crazy. I know they get a lot of money from endorsements, but they don't get hundreds of millions a year, which is what we get. So there's no real excuse, is there? I think we've got too many tracks. Like, we've lost 30 meetings now in New South Wales this year through wet weather. So it's getting pretty crazy. So that's Yiska's race. Race 2. I think this is a very good horse. Jumped from 1,000 to 1,300, which is never easy for a 2-year-old to do. I know it's second favourite or something like that for the JJ Atkins now, which is probably pretty crazy, but hard to line the horse up, isn't it? Like, it's gone bang, bang and put 2 fields away. Obviously, overcome a bit of trouble here. Crazy conditions. How do you line it all up? What's the answer? Not really sure. But it's hard to knock this horse. It's done a few things wrong and overcome 1,000 metres on a wet track on debut, and then this race. So pretty special horse from what I've seen of it so far. Definitely nothing to look at physically at this point. Plenty of improvement to come next prep physically. So, I think the JJ Atkins will come way too soon, but it travels keen. It's got to go to a mile next start, potentially. I don't even know if it's going there, but he's very talented. And what I liked about this race is that, a horse like Concadia Wind, is it called? I thought its win at Gosford was really good. So other horses that have shown good ability, Omnic landed in good positions around it. Even the leader, Sovereign Hill, it did improve. Mr. Artemisia is back in the field, I think. Is that him? He's back here. So he runs on really well from back in the pack. I thought he went really well last start. So it's not a weak race. And does get a bump here around the bend when Josh is not really sure which way to go. He's obviously travelling that well that he's just only worried about getting clear, and this horse Commanding Artist is sort of wobbling around and bumping and driving him crazy. So he's had to deal with that, which is not easy for a horse that's not, seasoned. And, he's got that good turn of foot, puts the race away really easily and really quickly, and then flattens out. So, he's a very talented horse, and I think there's plenty of winners going to come out of this race. Like Sovereign Hill, I think, up on speed, out of trouble. Gay Waterhouse up in distance probably suited it. I think that's probably what you see is what you get for it. I really like this horse, Harlem Queen. And I think Mr. Artemsia's got that same horse, that's that smashing time form that we'll have a look at in the size or whatever that race is in Brisbane. And Concadia Wind, I think, has got plenty of races in it too. And I think Omni can point and shoot probably next prep. I've got races in them. What's this horse here? Superhero poking away. So even this bloke back here, Great White Shark, I think will make a horse next prep. So I think there's a lot of potential out of this field. And, even though it drew the right gate and had the right run in transit Emirate, it smashed them. When they were over New York, they spread it, got 100 miles an hour road. Yeah, I think Braz, it's second horse went like a jet. I'll have a look at it. Well, it only had a limited. The third horse, you mean? I'm assuming. Yeah, like it's obviously run the fastest sections of the day. Harlem Queen's done a good job up the inside. I'll have a look at it again, the last couple hundred there. But Emirates not going JJ. I think that's smart. It doesn't look physically ready. I'd be taking it on, sure. You think Broadsiding's probably got that race pretty much in the bag. But yeah, these new tracks, I just don't think they give them the time they need. You know, like you just knowing from golf courses and things like that, which I've probably got more experience in the race courses, they take years, 2-3 years to bed down and really handle conditions and whatever their route system, especially when you're messing with places that were sand-based and you're now changing the route system and the base of everything. It's pretty crazy. It's, obviously Gold Coast tried to get up and running a bit too quick. And they can't, it's pretty hard to get better growing conditions than they get here. And that's the same for Eagle Farm, obviously. So, I'm definitely no grass specialist, but I can't imagine it's that difficult. Obviously, running horses over the top of it's not ideal, but you just give them the time they need, surely, when you've got the option to do so. Anyway, you just keep coming back to Hong Kong and see how well their tracks handle rain, and they've only got the two main tracks, and then the synthetic. So if they can do it, why can't we? I don't really understand. I know they don't race as often as we do, but we're talking about rotating our tracks. It's probably pretty similar numbers, I guess. The water's heated at Augusta. Yeah, they've got that underground heating. What do they call it? I can't remember the name of it. It's got a name. Yeah, maybe the turf companies, once it's down, they don't really care either. It's probably like Apple. They only want it to last so long. They don't build it to last potentially. I don't know. The thing you'll say about Rosehill is that it raced really consistently. But, if a track doesn't drain, it doesn't drain. It's very hard to it's not really the curator's issue. They're not the ones who build the drainage system unless they've been there while it's been installed and all that, So it's a big... They deal with what they've got, you pretty crazy. I know it's winter time too, so it's only going to get worse. But interesting. So I just want to have a look at a couple of horses. So Harlem Queen missed the kick out the back. This is what's it called? This is Mr. Artemisia. So the two of them out the back. There probably wasn't severe kickback, but it still wasn't the right spot to be. This is Harlem Queen going back towards the inside, and this is Concadia Win coming to the outside. He sort of completely gets lost on Harlem Queen, Alicia Collett, and ends up back on that inside section. Who's to know, really, whether that was good, bad, or indifferent, or the outside was good, bad, or indifferent. Very hard to work it out, but I thought they both finished off really well. Even Graceful Artist through the middle there was not bad late. I just feel this is going to be very, very strong form. Look at Mr. Artemisia through the line and past the line. He's a horse that could go to the J.J. Atkins and run an enormous race, I would imagine. What's he by? So he's gone 1,100 to 1,400 last start, and that had the beautiful run behind Megastar Heart, who was really well backed in that broadsiding race the other day. So it's finished off. That's not a bad effort. It's 3 starts in a race. Ran the fastest, second fastest last 200, fastest last 200, second fastest last 200 of the day in all 3 starts on a 6, a Kensington 10, and a Rosehill, whatever that was. So he might be the forgotten horse out of the 3, and it wouldn't surprise me if he lined up in a J.J. Atkins, but I'm assuming he's right there in betting anyway, so he's only $11. He's probably the one that looks more interesting to me going to the mile. Is Romantic Warrior the best horse in the world? I wouldn't have a clue. I don't really follow over Hong Kong uses their track 44 weeks a year. There you go. So they obviously don't use them both 44 weeks, do they? Or do they? They use Happy Valley, or they use Sha Tin 44 times. You just very rarely see them not play perfectly. So why is it so different? Why is it so difficult? I don't really understand it. Yeah, I appreciate the questions, Quigsy, but I just don't I don't follow them enough, to be fair. But that win was really good. I honestly gave it none. I thought it was 1,000,000 to 1 Romantic Warrior back to a mile against that sort of greater horse. And, you know, he rode it great, but he still had to push out and then he sprinted, which is, you know, I think he's more of a wind-up horse from what I've seen. So he's done a good job. And then they sort of didn't come to him, but they come close enough to him and he sort of held them. So full credit to Romantic Warrior. Did sit outside the leader and win a Cox Plate, which is never easy to do. So certainly a decent horse, but that was better than I thought he was capable of. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really strong race. This 2-year-old Open 1300. Some strange setups for a lot of them, but I think there'll be plenty of winners come out of this race, and they'll be winning good races. So it's probably the highlight of the card. Keep pushing on. This race is not. I don't really even think there's much point looking at it, but we will.
For the heavy rain continuing to fall. Rematch the favourite.
Now you've changed the kick. Both of them use 44 weeks a year. There you go. Wednesday, Sunday.
So it's going to
there you go.
Dirty Merchant handled the start okay. Gold Trackers up there. Ship Shape and the White Cat splitting runners. Now one beat, no beats, not too far away.
J-Mac says whatever he thinks will get him whatever he wants at the time. It's good to say it.
Kenichi wedged between runners and the champion thoroughbred colours. Clear then from Denny Gal. Zippo Idea.
I don't know if they do use the main tracks for track work. They've definitely got training tracks there.
Wellback Magic Pharaoh, Cenotes, Associate gives away a big start. Amaranth and Master Awards are the last two. So about 12 lengths covers the field at the 800 metres. Don't you think?
They wouldn't be using the course proper.
Wide out. On the outside of Gold
they got more than 3.7 mils, I think. Like, look at this. It was pretty heavy. And it ended up, like, I think it was a smart decision to cancel because they ended up getting, like, 100 mil for the day or something, or Sydney did, not Rosehill particularly.
Dirty Merchant back on the inside. Then Rematch coming off the fence. Toes in the water, gets going, wider out. They're followed further back to Zippo Idea from Kenichi, Denny Gal, as they race into the straight in the very heavy rain. Gold Tracker on the fence, wide out, one beat, no beat. Oh, Ruts laid in rather dramatically there, straightens up. One beat, no beat at the 300 a length clear. Now Bullock's got the favourite, giving chase. Rematch and quickly pounced on the outside, then Toes in the water and further back to Raj.
None of these horses look like they're really loving the conditions or handling the track. Number 14's a bit unlucky, running up their asses and sitting on the... Who was that? Sass and Chico. It's been going well, but it was a sort of a distance query, if anything. I don't think there's any point to looking at this.
Rematch, race and beat, no beat, trying to fight on, doing a good job. Rematch, Bullock really has to rip in, and it gets home. Rematch, beat, one beat, no beat, and I think Associate got up for
just poor conditions and
trying to fight on, doing a good...
pretty average horses. Yeah, that's right. Best day won the race. Yeah, I actually thought it was maybe not, but did a good job. I think you swapped the riders on the first two horses. You probably swapped the result, but good effort. You know, the first half a dozen across the line are going well enough. Probably the first 7 or 8 are going well enough to win maidens, but to win. Well, they're definitely going well enough to win maidens, but they're definitely going well enough to win highways.
Forward. Red light is up.
So this is when we get to the absolute nightmare fest. But this is a good race. I thought Franz Joseph did a good job here because I think this horse is pretty good of Waller's, Captain Furai, and definitely had it beat. And Franz Joseph, I think this is a huge, Mark Lambourne's big on it. The old golden switch is so inside draw to outside draw, especially these free going horses, bigger types with long strides. You know, they're just, when they get bottled up or crossed and stuck in behind horses, they're just not the same animal. So even though he was not quite fitness ready first up, Franz Joseph, it just shows, how much better a horse he is with open room to move. And, big, heavy horse. I can't imagine, even though he's handled soft ground before, that this ground was a great positive for him. Maybe it just made it a little bit more of a test, which played into his hands, Captain Fury only being in its first prep. But had some pud first up, I agree. They put more money into it because they actually have brains, unlike the clowns who run the game here. Maidens who show the trucks are used more, better than those trucks. Yeah, well, they definitely get a lot more rain than us, I would say, without, I'd say for certain they'd have to get more rain than us.
Franz Joseph began very quickly together with Captain Furo, while Gypsy keep you cool in fourth. Mogwai handy with Kappa.
So he did a good job, McAvoy, I thought, to take control of the race. Josh jumped really well, took the sit. You know, the old Waller runners want to take sits. You know, maybe if he had his time over again, he'd let it slide and sit outside the leader. Horse got a bit keen through this section, but he does get a decent enough run. I don't think he had too many excuses. Captain Furai sort of switches off from this point. But yeah, on these tracks, I just love letting him be comfortable, which is why McAvoy has done a really good job to allow Franz Joseph just to roll along. They definitely drop anchor here.
In front of Wild Gypsy and Captain Furo with cover this time in fourth. They're followed then by Kappa Kiri on the rails. Now starting a run from back in the field. Influential on the outside of Mogwai. Tajawal gets going. Methuselah gets shuffled back from Strathday as they straighten for the run home.
Kappa Kiri's a pretty good effort first up. Had the nice run, but it travels well, which is what you want to see. Doesn't look too fluky. It was a sort of full of a field that, you know, two really promising horses in Franz Joseph and Captain Furai that were probably, well, Captain Furai's third up. This horse is only second up. So improvement to come only in its first prep, and then sort of these staying types that were first up in Kapakiri. There was another one of these. This is called, what's this thing down the outside? Tajawal. Methuselah, which obviously didn't handle the going, was an interesting horse first up. Mogwai was well enough set up. While Gypsy's done a good job, come out of a maiden last start, so it's done a good job up on speed, but again, the sort of pattern probably suited it. By this stage, it's just a complete bog. You can see these horses that are back in the field just had no chance to get into the race, and they're just cooked.
Franz is kicking. He's loving the mud. And Franz Joseph McAvoy, the positive right early made.
So I think he can only improve again. Love it that he pricks his ears through the line. Good return. Good effort. While Gypsy, probably not the horse that you want to follow up in grade out of this. Probably stays in the same grade, whereas, you know, how many more runs has Captain Furai got in it? Not sure. Being in its first prep, they'll probably look after it. If they go on with it, you'd still say it can be respected in pretty much whatever it goes in next start. And I think this bloke can definitely go up to Brisbane and be competitive in something. For sure. Probably a mile next start, something like that. Captain Furai about around the 1400 or a mile as well would be fine by the look of it. I don't think it didn't run out the 1500. It was just running into conditions that were pretty testing. Yeah, I'd be forgiving of a lot of these horses that got back in the pack here, but first two definitely the best horses, and Kapakiri's very honest. How was the debut of the Singapore horse in Hong Kong in Class 3? 43, but the body of an 18-year-old. They say, at least you got a bad mud in the eye. Is that what happened from this race? That's why they pulled the meeting up after the next race, was it? I did see a funny tweet from Luke Marlowe saying she could have got it called off before he did his ass in the cigar flick race. He's a funny bloke. Why did they bring Fearless Riders to Sydney? Yeah, I don't know. Couldn't work that out. I actually spent quite a bit of time on it thinking, well, this is interesting. I think it had two straight track runs, didn't it, before it went here. It looked like a bit of a setup. So 1100, 1200 down the straight to 15 around a bend. But I couldn't find much depth to its form, and especially on wet ground. Like, it's never seen it. So I don't know what the heck they were doing. I agree. Very, very strange placement and a long trip home. When they bring the jockey with them, I know it's time of year when there's not too many options in Sydney, but I do think there's a bit of intent or something there, but I couldn't really see it. Anyway. Yeah, so I think that race would be okay, and it's the reverse. So because of these crazy times with the huge shift in track conditions, you know, what, like this is the race sort of 10 above, 20 above square in rematches racing, and obviously it's Cactus by 8 below, 9 below the next two races. Yeah, the ratings, people with ratings will be out the window. So it'll be very interesting to see sort of how these races are handled in the coming weeks. There could be some advantage in sort of overplaying of performances and underplaying of, you say, your Franz Joseph race there. It'll be interesting. Cigar Flicks race, I honestly haven't even seen this race. I think I saw the last 200 or so, so this is the first time I even get to watch this race.
Over 1100 metres. First use of the chute so far.
I thought American Pharaoh was going to be a lot better side than what it's been, and it's I think it's flopped a bit. It's a lot of decent trialers and what have you, but they haven't really kicked on. Whereas Justify looks like it could be bloody the next Daniel.
Wide, they're followed then by Florida Sky rushing forward as well, and Morpheus Bragi's up on the action. In flight settles midfield now, one off the fence.
Camber is a good horse. They just kept putting bloody P. Wells on it.
4 and 5 wide going down the side of the track.
You go back and watch the replay of this thing last start. Geez, it was findable, but it was wasn't easy with Clipperton and being to be back in the field and whatever. It just looked like Reggie gave it the biggest barrier trial in history last start to Garflick. So, you know, a proper race, it was probably findable 20 to 1 at big price, but you can see like they're just staff from not handling the track. This poor old left field is absolutely flying. Cigar Flick back here. Pisanello, where was it in the run? 4 and 5 wide pulling, so the whole race is a bit of a joke. I don't think you just wouldn't be taking much for this. In flight, I think it's a better horse. Like, it's not handled the conditions. Forgivable. This is not a bad horse, this Morpheus Bragi. I hate the earmuffs, but its 2 runs that I've seen for the new stable have been pretty good. It's got a race in it, I'd say. Morpheus Bragi. Definitely forgiving of most of the runners here. Queen of the Miles, also talking about force, doesn't seem to be going that great. I can't believe they let Let's Go Bro and Florida Sky and these horses run on this track first up. Thought surely he would have scratched, but yeah, 1, 2, well, number 2, left field's definitely flying. Pisanello's win was really good at Scone, and first up run at Wong was really good in flight, going really well. So I'd be pretty forgiving of the first half a dozen here because I think, again, the time being poor, literally, will maybe overplayed. So a few of those runners could be worth forgiving, especially if they're sort of 21 days into a better track or whatever. Pharaoh Magic won in Darwin. Go Pharaoh Magic. I think I've only ever been even one, and they thought it was Far Lap, and it never got warm. There's a few like that. What's the other horse that reminds me of? Is it Shalar? There's a lot of Shalars that they trial up really well. They get really excited about them, and not many have really gone on with it, if any. Yeah, they went too quick in that race for sure. Especially given the conditions, whereas Franz has certainly handled there's a big anchor drop from the 8 to the 6, so he's definitely got full control, Franz Joseph, and it makes sense why they had something left in the tank. And that race there was just, they just overdid the tempo for sure, especially with the wetter track by that stage. Americans are Americans. They're big on America. All right, which race do we look at? Probably look the Lord Mayor's Cup. We'll have a look at, but it was a joke race, just a complete benefit for Just Folk. Embarrassing the full control they let it have. It's like fast tempos for the most part of the day, except for that race. It was just a literal joke. They just handed it to Nash to the 800. Then he slowed him down to the 6 even more, and then he's not even done much coming home. So. I know they're looking after Just Folk. They're going to put it out, so we won't get any upside from taking him on. But when he gets back up to 1,800 metres in a more genuine testing race, I'd be worried about him. But he may not. I think he's going for a big dance, which is only a mile anyway. It's not 1,500. So he's had a good prep. Just Folk. Looking at the tempos again, sort of broadsiding, extremely favourable tempo for it. No real merit in the last section. So I'd say that the straight was certainly a lot slower. So you'd say the back circle and the track was much firmer than it was in the straight. Yet the last time of the day was, pretty good in a controlled tempo where they've gone pretty quick throughout. So what I would say, even though there's quite a few horses have run on, that I think it was hard to run on. I think there was an on-pace advantage up and off the fence. They just overdid so many of the tempos that horses were able to come from behind, like your I Wish I Win, roll on high broadsiding. I think they've they've had good tempo to suit them, but the pattern was up and off. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Awesome. I'll miss you. Yeah, so let's have a look at, we'll have a look at broadsidings.
Playing up a little bit in gate number 2.
Sorry, this Just Folk.
And now we're right to run racing. Lions Roar, Desert
There was a few horses that were interesting in this race. There was some big slows for this horse, Adelaide River, that it was just out for a barrier trial and that it'd be ready to go next time around. I thought Shock 'em Over was an interesting runner, as in extremely soft in betting. I honestly thought it would race a lot closer. And Dead Set looked like it wanted 2 mile the way it went in this race. And betting certainly supported that. The winner was very well backed. There was decent money for Adelaide River. I think it was just sort of more FOMO money. And when you heard Chris Lees before the race, he was basically like, we're going to ride it back. And, you know, it sounded like he didn't really care at all about the day. So it's run accordingly.
And coming over is Magnus Spin. A length and a half Desert Icon on the inside of Converge, and further back to a Shock 'em Over, and they're clear.
Put the money on what?
Eaglemont's on the fence, and Territory Express is drifting a long way back on the inside of Jimmy
Put the
Hendricks.
Tarago money on what?
Out 3 wide as last of all, so Just Folk in front, second Zoom On, 2 lengths away.
Jesus Christ.
Magnus Spin, 2.5 to Knight's Choice, a length and a half further back in the field, the Lions Roar on the inside of Lunces.
Well, it's going to be hard for him to beat broadsiding if he's in pre-work.
On the outside, a length and 3/4 to Eaglemont on the inside of Shock 'em Over.
So yeah, just absolute, like the definition of full control. No pressure at all. Zoom On sat off him, pricked his ears, full control, rolling at his own tempo. Main dangers on paper, well back in the field. Adelaide River, Shock 'em Over. Converge, who has been going like very, you know, not himself and doesn't really like wet tracks, is back midfield and runs second. Territory Express is back third last, sort of turn of foot horse. It runs third. Knight's Choice is in the nice spot, 1 out, 1 back. So
Zoom On, third is Magnus Spin. Knight's Choice the outside, a length and a half to Lions Roar, Lunces, and further back to Desert Icon, who's parked away on the inside of Converge. A length and a half Shock 'em Over going forward ahead of Eaglemont, and they're clear from Adelaide.
I thought Shock 'em Over was still a very weird run.
Territory Express back third last.
Haven't looked at the stewards report. Probably should see if anything was found. I know that Magic Time had a really big excuse. So look, Shock 'em Over has basically come with Converge, Adelaide River out here, and Territory Express has run past both of them. So, you know, very, you'd have to say they were disappointing no matter what. Like, obviously hard to be too harsh on Adelaide River being first up, but Shock 'em Over was still a little bit plain, you'd have to say. But they're still not doing anything here. Like the sections in the back half are still very average. The overall time's very average. So it's just more of this sort of level is just really steady. You know, it's not there's not too many really high level progressive horses coming through these races, which is sad to see because I thought Shock 'em Over would do a lot more than what it did. And obviously Adelaide River's form overseas was really strong for a race like this. So yeah, a bit of a joke race. Good to see Converge back and running okay, but does that put a huge damper on the form? I'd probably say it would. Knight's Choice only second up. Territory Express very fit. Probably that's as good as he can go. Good ride. Got it to the right part of the track, but tempo against. He's run well. Lunces and Sabaka both a little bit the same these days. Non-winning, but running honestly types. Lions Roar was a bit plain, I thought. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there because betting suggested that Shock 'em Over was going to run below its best, and it did. And whether it can bounce off that or not, I'm not really sure. If it's a Melbourne way of going only horse, hard to say. But sometimes they do improve with a run the other way. It has run at Rosehill before and run well off a slow tempo in a very similar sort of setup race, but was deeper into its prep. So maybe it's worth forgiving, maybe it's not really sure. Who's that for? 14 to 18 second up. Oh, is that for us? Walla's been doing some unforgivable shit, really. Hey, Walla does whatever Walla wants to do. Good evening, everyone. G'day, mate. All right, move on to the sires. So, yeah, I think a few things here. Elmore Zillow's probably come to the end of his prep. he was probably a little bit disappointing. I thought the ride on Smashing Time was only fair. I was quite interested in this race. There was good money for it late. Megastar Heart, I'd like to have a look at what he did here because it had the same sort of form, and it had that form out of, what's it called, Mr. Artem's era form as well, which I think could possibly measure up in the JJ Atkins in a couple of weeks. So this will be the main feeder with probably that race from Sydney, to be honest. I'm not sure who else will be there. Sort of Better Creek, top 4, 5, 6 and 7 of the betting are coming out of these races. Barbaric Lads in this race too. Smashing Time, Sneaky Sunrise. So they look like the two main feeder races unless there's some left field form, which I don't think there really is. Even your Harlan Queens that are coming, but I don't think they'll get in the field. So we'll have a look. I don't think she won dead here, but I think they didn't really care about this race. I thought she rode it ultra conservatively and basically just kept it out of trouble. Worked home and was just too strong for them. They have gone too fast up front. So they have a solid pace advantage for the back markers, but he's the only one to run on from the back, but he's obviously the class horse. So what do you make of all that? Smashing Time's the one in front of it in the run. I think he's a good horse, but he's only in his first racing prep, is he? Sorry, I believe he is. Yeah, so he's gone 1100 debut, 1400 win at Kembla, which was really good off a slow tempo back towards the inside there, beating Media World, who came out and won at Hawkesbury. And then the run behind Megastar Heart, where it was basically set an impossible task there from back and wide off a steady but fast tempo, or steady throughout, fast overall time and steady fraction. So good effort at Kensington. And then this run here. So he's had 3 runs at 1400. He might just be looking for the mile, so he could run okay. It's just that old balancing act, if it's all too much in the first prep or not. But broadsiding's in his first prep too, even though he's had a freshen up. So Elmore Zillow, this is Bitter Creek, had those good runs in transit. Megastar Heart sat outside the fast speed, so that it could be a forgivable run going forward.
Call one's a length and a half away, so Cosmic Fire's in front. Second, Megastar Heart, 2 lengths away. Third, Territory Ash. On the inside of Bitter Creek, inside the 600 metres marker. Creeping forward, Super Ralloy. Next, the outside there, just in behind those horses. Old Toff, Elmore Zillow sneaks up the inside, and broadsiding at the moment is back about 3rd or 4th last inside.
So she's just sort of tracked up, and got it to the right part of the track. Smashing Times come through the middle.
Joined here by Megastar.
I thought Elmore Zillow was going to do more, but I think he's just tired.
The next one further back to Elmore Zillow, right down the outside. Zuna broadsiding runs home, and further back to weaving through Smashing Time. It's Super Alloy. Here's broadsiding though down the outside. Out wide broadsiding Zuna. Broadsiding in front from Zuna. Broadsiding has won it from Zuna. Super Alloy. Creek inside the 600
Zuna. These are interesting horses. Barbaric Lad's in the roll your dice colours, and Zuna's come off its back. There's something happens to this Barbaric Lad coming to the bend.
Going forward on the outside up into 3rd last placing now.
There were some silly prices on Saturday. Even Felix the Scat was a silly price in the Derby. There's some massive blows late in these races. You've got to really keep your finger on the pulse, because the way these market moves late, you know, things go from 15s to 50s often now. Wow, so Zuna's had to check, and then what the heck's going on here? Who are these riders? Luke Curry, Aiden Thompson. Oh, God.
Alloy. Next, the outside there, just in behind those horses. Old Toff, Elmore Zillow sneaks up the inside, and broadsiding at the moment is back about 3rd or 4th last inside the 450. Cosmic Fire joined here by Megastar.
So I think he could improve a bit. Barbaric Lad from a JJ Atkins perspective. Zuna's gone okay. Gone well, to be honest. It's gone really well, Zuna. Smashing Time, good. Elmore Zillow back towards the inside, but surely he's had enough. This horse has got really tired late, but it's entitled to after sitting outside the leader. It's actually some really good runs here. Where does Super Alloy sit?
On the inside of Bitter Creek, inside the 600
The
metres.
Super Alloys had the right run.
Next the outside there,
At 3 wide just behind him.
as they swing down the side next forward.
Its effort was good. What's its form before that?
Bitter Creek down the outside. Zuna brought the back two, weaving through, smashing time. It's Super Alloy. Here's broadsiding though down the outside. Out wide broadsiding. Zuna broadsiding.
I mean, there's a case that broadsiding is just too good for this lot. Being off a freshen, I think, you know, draws a gate, can settle closer, all that. And then is it this form that's secondary? Or does the danger come from your Mr. Artemisia? Now, I think Mr. Artemisia is very interesting. Oh, but no idea with full Felix. Aiden Thompson looks awful on a horse. Absolutely agree. It's not going to get a rider change. That's the problem. This race is definitely not a midweek race, but it's, you know, times-wise, again, it's not strong. It's not terrible, but it's not strong, and it's not strong off the back of a fast speed, which is what I get worried about. So the next four races are all, including this and the next 3 are all slow overall times off fast tempos, which is never great to see. I think broadsiding is going to go very close in the J. Jackins for sure. I think smashing time can improve, whether it's just a little bit of my bias or not. I just don't think it was too well ridden up to a mile. Better draw. I think it's got a few things that it could improve, but there's a few decent runs there. Megastar Heart can definitely improve. I think Bitter Creek, Super Alloy had the right runs. Zuna was good, but has it got more upside? Probably not. Interesting race, but I really think Mr. Artemisia will run well in the JJ Atkins if it gets there. Well, mate, I'm not too excited about $1.90. 2 weeks out for any horse, so I'll knock that back. How would broadcasting, is that you mean broadsiding, stack up in a benchmark 88 with 56.5 kilos as a Group 1 winner? What's that got to do with the price of fish? What sort of a weird question is that? It'll never race in a benchmark 58, 88 in its life. All right, the BTC Cup. I don't know if anyone's seen, but there's some photos going around or whatever, Magic Time with twisted shoe. So it twists the shoe coming out the gates, and the shoe doesn't come off, and then also cuts itself. It's in the steward's report. So big excuse for Magic Time. Whether it can recover in time to run again in a couple of weeks or not, I'm not sure. So you can see sort of out of the gate, she's normally got a lot of decent speed, and she slips and she's out the back, and then sort of tries to pick herself up and then over races the whole way. So I guess the key to all this is this race any good? Is this form any good? Think about it. Looked like it was going to bolt in, couldn't pick its feet up. Couldn't pick its feet up late, so it seems to be not going well at all. I wish I win Bella Nipotina clear out at the end, but is the form any good? You know, In Secret first up 1,300 on a heavy track. You know, you're talking about horses going towards Stradbrokes and things like that. I guess it's very dicey form, but there's just not a lot of other form. So you know, I'm a huge Magic Time lover, obviously, but she's obviously complete forgive here. She's the one that can improve for sure. In Secret can improve because of fitness. Espiona just didn't go at all. Very keen. I think she looked like she's come towards the end of her prep for mine. Just very fierce throughout. Didn't go any good. So time's very average. Excuses for big percentage of the market basically didn't go at all. Espiona and Magic Times had queries. In Secret was first up. So this horse has gone terrible. So the race itself pretty steady. Really good ride on the winner. That's probably the most important thing. Somehow from an inside draw, got it to the outside and right part. You know, Freedom Rally's run 4th. Antino running home late again, similar to what it did first up. It looks a pretty pox race. This horse is going no good either. What's it called? Uncommon James. It's a very pox race. The thing is, what else is around? You know, this is normally a race where I'd be going, well, I'm just about taking all of these horses on wherever they go. But what else is there? What else is around? There's just no depth. There's no quality. I'm amazed they didn't sell Espiona last week. Yeah, the problem is, Callum, when you say 3-year-old Group 1s a week, they just keep running against each other. So Imperatrice is not much good either. She was a very average horse. Yeah, dicey, isn't it? The 2 Waller horses just doing nothing back towards the inside. But I look at those things too and go, well, you know, is there another target in mind? But I just think Espiona looks cast, and also Penko. He's just absolutely destroyed that poor horse. It was a very good horse gone begging, Osipenko. Yeah, I guess most of these horses are going to try and line up in a Stradbroke, whether they get in or not. I don't think Freedom Rally will. Antino will head that way. I'm assuming I Wish I Win will. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think any of them are much good ever. Like, they talk about a lot of these horses like they're superstars, and I guess they are at the time. You know, we can only beat what's in front of you, but you know, none of these horses have done a lot. Even Think About It won 6, 7 races or whatever it was, or maybe even more, but they were all sort of very well placed, very well ridden. Things went to plan. Then they've sort of butchered this prep up a bit. You know, they're not bad horses, but I don't think they'd stack up against many other decent level sprinters. Yeah, they're Group 2, Group 3 horses, right? Yeah, it's it. First 2 have won 12 million. It's insane. It's insane, the money. And you'd love to own them, but I just don't think they're the same class as, you know, I'm talking about, you know, high level sprinters. Like, you take these two, we've taken good horses all over the world. I don't think we could travel these horses. That's why I can't believe Asfura's in the UK. It's like, what is that? It's just the weirdest thing of all time. Anyway, I think this horse can improve if it can get over, if it didn't do too much damage to its foot and its leg. Magic Time, when she pops out next, you'd be forgiving of her. And certainly in secret, back to 1,200 or 1,300, similar. He can run well. We're going through a lull. But when was the last time we produced a good horse? That's the problem. I think the whole system's pretty cast. I know you always get freaks come through, but, you know, will we sell it? Will we retire it? What will we do? So I think this bunch of 2-year-olds are pretty good, promising-wise. Plenty of upside to them. So it'd be interesting to see if they train on as 3-year-olds. But this group of 3-year-olds just look like very steady creatures. So I don't know where the next group's coming from. And half the bloody average ones, like Militarize and that, they're retiring them anyway.
All in.
I don't know what we're going to be left with. All right, so this is the Derby. They go very fast here, or one horse does. The Wrinkle. Was it the Wrinkle? Was it? Yeah, it was the Wrinkle on Navy King, right? Navy King overdoes it in front, very fast tempo, but there's no merit at all in the last 800, last 600 of this race. The winners come home, you know, below standard for the last 800 metres of the race, only marginally. And certainly visually incredible win. I'm still not sure what I witnessed, but it's got to be a putrid race, isn't it? Like, it's got to be a very steady race. And you've got to have huge concerns over the form, but in saying that, the winners come home, you know, 11th fastest last 200 of the day. So I don't know what the heck this performance is. listening to Blake Shin after the race, he's declared it was like a bit of a track gallop. So I don't know what to do with the winner. I'll rabbit on a bit about Hariri later when we talk about the Oaks coming up this week. But, you know, I definitely think she should have finished at least alongside him. And I know the Oaks is only 2,200. This was 24 on a little bit of a beaten up track. But what was this win? I thought it was the most... I thought it was strange tactics on Bullet Tie to roll forward. And Shin sort of gets caught wide. But, you know, he gets in a barging thing with Orman for about 900 metres, where Orman just refuses to let him in, which is fair enough. You know, he's on the Waller 50-1 chance, and Waller's got the second favourite. So I can see where he was coming from, trying to mess with Warmonger. But, yeah, it's just a super difficult win to line up. But I'd be very, very, very wary of the form in general, because it was just so putrid leading in, and it's just that none of them have done anything. Exactly. Most destined for Kilcoy, I agree. You can't say it improved 10 lengths on the Adelaide form. I agree. You can't. It's just insane. Genuine question, what were the final banks for the Little Birdie Stream? I couldn't watch it. I don't know. I think Racing Ramp finished on 0. Donnie finished on 0. I think Johnny McLeod finished on between 5 and 6,000. I think I finished between 7 and 8. I think. Do you agree 7 years ago this would have been Group 2? Yeah, well, without looking at 7 years ago. Are you looking at the Steffi race? I can look at that. Sorry, Paul, I'm just going back and catching up. Weirdest thing, the Coolmore horse going to Ascot when Nature Strip went over, yeah, and then when going to stud. Turn this off, please. Monga. Yeah, so this was a good result, but honestly, I didn't have a bet in the race, apart from the Little Birdie stuff. I just couldn't get my head around it. Now I've got to go to Melbourne as punishment in 2 weeks. Awesome. So there's dead set fighting with each other here. So just, what do you do with it? What do you do with all this form? The trifecta was the thing that was absolutely gettable. The winner, the New Zealand form, and Felix Scat was really good last start. It was just a silly price. Jeez, it was an easy trifecta. Followed by Autumn Angel on the inside of further back as Warrior to Warrior, Ajita, next along there as they swing down the side as Purveyor, Son of Deckers going forward. Well, it was the only horse that looked like a state, like it had a good setup to be strong, whereas all that Tannhauser and they look like 2,000 metres absolutely tops them out. Autumn Angel sort of drawn inside, coming back off that Oaks prep. Went okay behind Tannhauser, but the race looked putrid. But you can't, like, his effort's just crazy in comparison to the rest of the field. He just sort of leaves them for dead. So, man, they've got to be bad horses for this to not be a special performance, but everything says they are. Like that Son of Deck coming down the outside, who was off a 1,700 metres sit and sprint at Scone. He runs out of legs. Warrior to Warriors had 463 runs. First innings, dead set wants 5,000 metres. That Ipswich race was just a grind-a-thon. It's done a decent enough job. Saban looks a bit the same. Looks like it wants another 63 furlongs. Incoda was poor at Ipswich. Ajita had a poor setup to run well. Now, Autumn Angel's probably a little bit of a forgive, which makes sense. You know, she's a decent enough horse back here, but what do you do with this win? I don't know. Just super weird. Super weird. So come off a fast run Morphettville 2,500 where it was back towards the end of the field and finished off okay, to sitting up on a fast tempo, not as fast as Adelaide, mind you. Over racing, having a war with another horse for half the trip and doing that. I don't know. One good thing is we won't have to worry about it to the spring, and we'll probably get a look at him in shorter races and see how he's going before he gets to anything serious. No, but he doesn't scream Melbourne Cup to me, or doesn't scream, you know, best horse I've seen in 10 years or anything like that. Only horse who stayed the trip on the testing track had 400 metres over staying test trip. Twigman was in the AGCW, he was at Bow Desert. Yep, I agree. That's it. And that's where a lot of these will be, right? Man, oh, mate, my back's cactus. Oh, my hip. Working on signs as we speak. Race 1 Warwick Farm Wednesday. I found you has the A+ trial form. Will they even be on? Very scary. Outlier of the decade. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Or does it mean that Hariri is just unbeatable in the Oaks? Because I think Scarlett, Hanson or whatever it's called is not much. Or is very vulnerable. If it was 2,400, I'll probably end up going broke if Hariri doesn't win. Obviously, I don't even know if it's running. Does anyone know if it's definitely running? I'm assuming it's running. Isn't that what it's called? I don't know what it's called. Scarlet Camel. What's it called? Queensland Oaks, Scarlet Oak. It's called it's Queensland Oaks. I couldn't even produce Scarlet Oak. Molly Bloom, Mayo Millabilla, like Hariri dead set. I honestly think it should have won that Adelaide Derby by 6. The problem is that was 2,500. This is only 22, but it's off of freshen. If it was 2,500, I'd dead set be going broke. She's like $15 or something. I just don't understand why. Anyway, we'll get there. So, yeah, the beauty of this race, the answer's a pineapple. Whether she backs up in, Moonlight Magic or well, it's not in the market at all. Autumn Angel, so I'm assuming she's not running. Moonlight Magic's still in the market. I think that's a hard run to offer break to back up 7 days later off, but you'd have to take her a little bit seriously. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a sec. Which was the... Oh, I missed the roll on high race. Sorry, I missed that. I completely missed the Fred Best race. I think I'm going to end up having a very good... I'm already on it for too much, Hariri, and I don't see myself stopping betting, especially if a little bit of rain comes or it looks testing or whatever. I think I'll probably wait until final fields now because I think they'll still put up $10, something like that. And I'm just not sure she's going to run, but I'll probably... Yeah, they're still better than 11 around, but I'll probably wait because I think I just want to make sure she runs. So this race is Steffi Magnetica race. Sorry, I missed it. Again, go too fast here. A little bit... I was worried they were going to ride it too close. I thought it was poor placement of the horse. Class-wise, very well placed, but poor placement, 1,400 metres second up. I think the horse, I don't think she runs 1,400 strong. And if she's going to, it's going to be off a slow tempo, not a fast tempo like she had in that flight. I don't think it was the flight. It was the middle race, wasn't it? The surround or something. So, yeah, I was worried about that. I was worried about them riding it too close from the inside draw, which he didn't really do, but they're going quick. So she's probably too close. The winner is definitely been pace assisted. I thought, it was completely out in the wilderness, but the back half of this race is very average. So, something was entitled to run on. It was a bit of a pox race, and it's sort of worked out that way. Good effort from Rhythm. I'd love to sit up on speed, working wide, no cover up on a fast tempo. I think Golden Decade's not a bad horse as well. I think it's a really underrated horse. He could sneak into a race and win at sort of 10, 15 to 1 easily. A very similar race to this. I think it's a pretty good horse, Golden Decade. Corniche was disappointing. It's in front of Steffi Magnetica. Steffi Magnetica in the middle, on the inside here. Corniche in front of it, runs last. McHale way out the back. It needs a reset. I think it'll win a race in the springtime, a decent race. McHale. Base is loaded, really, wide, no cover the whole way and working and looms up to do something. Roll on high, comes underneath it. I think there's danger. Will Robinson ridden all over this race. I think it's very, very scary. But these horses tend to run against each other over and over again. That Snow Patrol sort of tracking up there.
Golden Deco with Steffi Magnetica, back nearer the inside and right down the outside as Roll On High.
There's just warning signs all over this race.
Roll On High runs home well. The inside
Number one, very honest, Rhythm of Love, but it's, I call a lot of horses honest but limited, and I think that's what it is. Roll On High's had that really weird prep. Steffi's just peaked on a run there for sure. She's run really well. She's flying. This probably bases loaded to the horse that can find a race over a mile that it could probably dictate and improve. And it won't be, like it was 33 to 1 there, so it could sneak into a race as well. That it and Golden Decade might be interesting horses to follow out of this race. The winner's got to go for a spell soon, hasn't it? Well, it would have been ideal for her to get to a better part of the track, but she was drawn there. Like, I wish our wins race was a little bit different, smaller field, and it's actually harder to get to the middle of the track when they're going faster because you're getting horses tiring and gaps are harder to find. But it can go both ways. But his ride wasn't great, but I think she just. To use her up and get to a better part of the track, I think the result would have been similar because 1400 is just, as far as she wants, I think. I think she's better than those horses. I've got no doubt she is, to be honest. It was just the setup. Bud Jurek, the Donald Trump of jockeys, on fire. He never really looked like he wanted to, did he? Like, he never looked like he tried to. So here, I tried to cut through in front of Corniche and that way. He never even looks to do it, does he? Like, it's very hard to argue one way or the other because he never even attempts to do it. He just sort of cuts under him. Like, I know what he's trying to say. Potentially he could have tried to come through there. I don't know. It's a hard one. I just say there's a lot of horses not doing a lot here. Battling on Schwartz and whatever, they're all not doing a lot, and they're finishing a big bunch. So even Mikhail, he's just sort of in the wrong spot throughout, tries hard. I think the form will be pretty scary out of this. Very dicey. There'll be horses improve from out the back, and there'll be horses that up on speed that won't go on with it. I think it'll be very, very dicey form race. The last was a nothing race. I don't think there's anything too exciting there, was there? Moesha, Comrade Rose, a huge drifter. We'll watch the replay.
With the hip hurrah.
I think by this stage, like this was the first race where they really rated the horses a little bit kinder. And, Bazique's going really well. Chinny Boom was good. Bubble Rock was first up. Curvalant, pretty talented horse, but sort of got back in the pack and never really looked like winning. Comrade Rosa Blue from $4.50 to $15 or something. I thought that was interesting, especially really early. Fasile never got going at all in the conditions. Hippie Paraz out the back again.
Bubble Rock followed by Grey River. Made to fit Miss Hellfire. Comrade Rosa for Silas back nearer the inside. Wider out as Revolutionary Miss over Enterprise Pom. Moesha back behind those and Coe Volant inside.
Yeah, that's sick, bros. Last leg of a multi for it to run a place. Like, definitely had conditions against it.
Bubble Rock is out wider, followed further back by Miss Hellfire. Here's Chinny Boom, limbing up on the outside of Bazique, and they're well clear at the moment. Bazique and Chinny Boom. Chinny Boom has grabbed the lead. They're cheering up in central Queensland. Look at her go, Chinny Boom. She's back. Chinny Boom's won.
Christ almighty, you're stiff. How unlucky are you? It doesn't run third. Mind you, this horse should have finished third clearly, if not even closer. How good's Chinny Boom going? I didn't realise it won B5 or 3.
Limbing up on the outside of Bazique, and they're well clear at the moment. Bazique and Chinny Boom.
This isn't like, what the heck? Who's ridden it? Enterprise Pom. Oh, Andrew Mallion. Holy cow. He dead set should not be allowed to ride on a Saturday. Well, he should, but he should have been at Bow Desert or Cairns. I think there's a couple of runners back in the pack here who've got races in it. If it went back in distance, Hippie Parara, I'd be interested in it. Enterprise Pom was really good its last start and then held up, so it's interesting. Curvalant first up can definitely improve. Yeah, this horse can improve. Bubble Rock, certainly there's something wrong with Comrade Rosa according to the betting, so it can improve. There's a number of improvers back here. Really good rides from the first two runners. I think this form will hold up. I think this form will definitely hold up. And no matter how far anything's got beat here, I think the on-paces had the best of it. Setup-wise, the way they controlled the race. So I'd take the time. Anything you like that comes out of this race, I'd take the time to go back over it and have a look. Depending on what race it certainly goes to, I think there'll be some subsequent winners come out of this race without doubt in the next few weeks. Chinny Boom was another one with the Golden Switch. The old Mark Lamble Golden Switch sort of stuck back on the inside last start and then outside draw, able to flow forward and get into a rhythm outside the leader. Similar to Franz Joseph last start. So there's two really good efforts. Ran some really good closing sectionals. Curvalant. It's a good horse. So I think the conditions certainly didn't suit it, and where it got to in the run, that's super sick. Not running top three, just super, super sick. I feel sorry for you. Why do Andrew jockeys suck? I can only think of a couple, and actually I can't think of a really good one. So you might be onto something there. Pretty Broadmare sale isn't this week. Get a price for Chinny. Yeah, agree. Hey, when Macbeth was on Little Birdie on Saturday, they put it on for broadsiding. What did that mean? Was he talking about tempo? Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say he was saying they put it on for tempo-wise, which they did, but it still was given a pretty cold ride, set a big task. So, off a break and all of that, its effort was really good. But they did put it on for it, and the time overall was nothing special. So, if anything did something good up on speed, they probably would have beaten broadsiding, but the tempo did allow it to get into the race. It certainly hasn't done anything spectacular. So in perspective, obviously it's a 1200 versus a 1400 and everything there, but the winner of that race there, Chinny Boom, sitting outside the leader, has come home it's actually come home faster the last 800, 600, 400 and broadsiding's run a faster the last 200. But apart from that, it's run faster time sitting outside the leader in the race in the last than broadsiding did from back in the pack. So that's probably how you put it into perspective. It's just all about tempo, really. Sorry, John, late to the stream on dad duty. Watching the jockey interviews from Eagle Farm, 70% across the most races said their horse didn't handle the track. So you just pen the meeting. Well, you've got to just be very wary, but you've still got to be careful the quality of the race they're coming out of. But yeah, I can be forgiving of more horses certainly out of this meeting. And as you sort of said, it's positioning run is so important. You can underplay horses' runs, backing on the inside there, your Steffi Magnetica runs. She's probably gone just as good there, arguably, as she did it first up against, I Wish I Win and those horses. So it's it's easy to get carried away with horses that have had everything in their favour and be forgiving of those that aren't. So you've got to be very careful with these sorts of tracks. But it's getting boring, isn't it? These minimal amount of rain and these inside sections are just putrid. And it looks slippery. It's just like horses aren't handling the tracks at all. It's just like they don't have, I don't know whether it's a deep root system or not. I've heard Johnny Mack talk about it, that it's actually firm underneath, but shifty on top, and that's a really bad combination, because if you've got a really firm root system and the top's sort of falling apart, that's when you get really abnormal results, because horses just lose confidence or slip or whatever. It's actually dangerous, and you get a lot of kickback. It's not great. They had the Tropical Squall race, and that's it. So the Steffi was slow tempo, up on speed there. Had everything basically to suit it, and roll on high was probably one of the runs of the day. And then it all went pear-shaped from there. The whole preparation really hard to work out. But Yeah, she was back towards her best there, but she had plenty of her favour as well. Yeah, it's really weird what's going on up here because the weather's been, we've copped a bit of rain lately for sure, but before that it was pretty good. Will she get into the race? If she gets into the race, it's definitely not confetti. I think she's much better suited third up 1400. All right, let's have a quick look at these races from this week. Where can we find track managers? When can we find them? Well, see, you never know, right? A lot of them are conditioning tracks to what they're being told to. It's very hard. It's very hard. I do think they overwater tracks, that's for sure. And I just can't understand why drainage is not placed at a premium. Like they're worried about green grass. Was there anything else on Magic Time the Stewards report? Mick D said it lost a shoe and didn't feel right. Yeah, sorry, because you didn't talk. We talked about it a lot, Daniel, but obviously you just come in. It didn't just lose a shoe, it twisted the shoe and the shoe stayed on. And it also had a pretty bad laceration on its leg. So, actually, I'll show you a photo. Because it was so weird. So that's the shoe. And so like that twisted at the start and then stayed on. So you imagine trying to run. You can see why she got keen and over raced, right? And then she obviously had the laceration as well. So, even though I'm a die-hard Magic Time fan, I think it's worthy of forgiving off the back of that. And it happened out of the gate, so certainly far from ideal. All right, we'll start from the start. Bob Charlie Stakes. Jesus Christ. I thought I owned a Merc. Oh, Jesus. Too soon I own a Merc. Interesting horse. Fresh, Lekvar. How far is this race? Who's even going to be there to ride these horses? Is there some chance that I own a Merc gets a rider change? So this is 1100. That's too short for Lekvar, most likely. Still dangerous. Only got 55.5. $53. I own a Merc. True weight. Holy cow. Well, there's nothing there. Andrew Mallion on. Oh my god. Why not pull it? If he felt something wrong early doors. Well, it's hard to say, right? That's those sorts of things they can. I don't know about the damage to the hoof, Paul. I don't know. I'll do my best to find out though. Yeah, I don't think that's a race, the Bob Charlie, that's worth looking at too hard at this point. Lord Mayor's Cup. I'm filthy that Sir Lucan didn't get to run. So this is the last week's race. They've put it back, I'm assuming. Yeah, so this is 2000. Yeah, I actually wanted to back Sir Lucan in this race, especially with any sort of testing conditions. I was amazed that it was sort of 650. I thought Waterford was up against it, 2,000 metres and on testing ground. And I thought that Skylab was a big price. So, yeah, I've got no reason to change from those two, but I think we're going to get those prices no matter what. So I don't think there's any real advantage to betting early there. The Morton Cup, what is that? Why don't they put how far these things are? Like, is it that hard to put how far the race is? You think that someone that's wanting to bet on these races, like just looking it up, might be actually go, why do they put no information on these races? Morton Cup. $1,200 Group 2, 3-year-old and up. Set weights penalties. Marzu, god damn. You think it'd want a heavy track Marzu. Opal Ridge was good the other day, but had things to suit it. Balana was okay. All that was geez. Geez, and this is a steady race. Lekbart's in here as well. It'd be interesting. 1200. It's much more suitable. This horse is flying at wit's end. Jeez. Nothing race, is it? At wit's end, I agree. That's a silly price at wit's end. It's absolutely flying. Back in distance the other day, it was not suited. Back to 1200s, much more. I think it was in 1,000 the other day. I think Lekbart's a very, very good horse. I think it's a very it's a rough hope in a Tats Tiara or something like that. 1400, I think it's its go. Fast tempo 1400 can let go with a big run. I don't think it runs much further than that. One over further. I mean, very good horse to us. Yeah, big goodbye wants probably a wet track. Yeah, I don't think there's much there. We're just probably going to keep saying that until we get to the Oaks, and then I'm probably just going to keep saying to keep betting until your backside bleeds on it. But I will be waiting for final field. Le Creek, that's the New Zealand horse, right? So what's this? Why do they just call it the Magic Millions? Because it's obviously not that. Magic Millions National Classic W. Fillies and Mares Weight for Age, 1,600 metres. So Le Creek's second up after getting beat in a 1,400 metre ready to run ITM Stakes Group 3. It beat Aegon Desert Lightning over a mile in February. Second up mile. Jeez, it's a bad race, isn't it? Oh my goodness. All for Cindy, Kona Sana. What the heck? Maracana. Miraval Rose, Osmo. Like, this is a terrible race. Oh my God. But what is it? A Group 2 weight for age race. What the hell? Well, if the Kiwi's any good, it'll be winning. If it's any good, it'll be winning. If it's like ready to go, it'll be winning. Oaks into $10 since we've been talking, so Callum's unloaded, 11 into 10. Yeah, my thoughts on this race are that I'm sort of taking on Scarlet Oak a bit because, again, just because of the price, I thought it had a really nice run last start. Off a fast tempo, time overall was okay. Certainly, was strong through the line over 2,000 metres, but it's all doing this off its first prep, 14, 14, 16, 24 now, or 22, isn't it? So that's probably suitable. If it was 24, 25 again, I think that would be advantage Hariri. But she travels comfortably in a good position. Gets the perfect run through. Like, absolute perfect run. And I just don't like this. Like the Flying V or whatever you want to call it. A real bunch. The margins do open up a little bit late, which is what you want to see. And she's strong enough through the line for sure. But, she's not the strongest. And as we're sort of seeing, like, that's Mount Buller chasing it, Miss Jolene, Our Gold Hope, Molly Bloom down the outside. I'm just happy to look away from this form. I am a little bit obsessed with this Hariri, but I think she's a pretty special staying type. I think staying is her thing. As I said, sort of back to 2,200 is not ideal. You got horses like, Kind Words getting held up here. This horse has just had the absolute perfect run. And like, the Kind Words climbing over their heels, sort of finished a couple of lengths closer. I'm not a big Our Gold Hope fan. She's got upside. I'm not saying she's a bad horse. I just think she's very short. Like, I just think, did I already shut that? Like an idiot? No. I just think trying to compare the two. Hariri's had 2 preps, so 1 racing prep, another racing prep, come out and won strong second up off a really fast tempo 1800. Ended up going out and winning the what was that? The St. Ledger, and the race was over 600 meters out. And then I've never seen a horse cop more checks. So she's won off a slow tempo over 2800. She's then was given none in that race behind Good Banter, Autumn Angel. The only thing she's probably got to tick is the heavy track, because that was probably her worst run. That was a pretty bog track off a slow speed. So, probably 5, 6 at worst you'd want to see. But her run was insane that day. Like, she just dead set gapped him. And then whether it was a bad ride or circumstances, who cares? I don't even want to watch it. But go back and watch it. If it shouldn't have beaten Warmonger home, I'll eat it. And we've seen what Warmonger's done there. But if she shows up in one piece, I would have loved to see a trial or something. But the way, how clean she looks as a stayer, the way she just sort of builds through a gear, hits the line every start. Holy shit, if she's anywhere near a top, I honestly don't think they'll beat her. And I'm not saying dive into $10 or $11 now, because I think you'll get $9, $10, $8 when final field comes up. So what's the point? I'm still guessing whether she's even going to run, because I don't know. So, if she gets to the races in a 5 or a 6, the track's a 5 or a 6, I'll probably end up having a decent crack at it myself, without doubt. What is she? $10. If your goal is cups, why would you want the weight penalty of an Oaks? Well, why would you run in this race? I don't know. Maybe she needs to win it to get into a Melbourne Cup. She's only won us at Ledger. I've got no clue who'll ride it. Andrew Banks, Andrew Calder, Andrew Spinks, Andrew Adkins, Andrew Gibbons, Andrew Mallion. Oh, you cruel people. Yeah, it's pretty true. It is, but I've not seen a. If I had to bet now, and you probably get a price. If someone put up a market Warmonger to beat Hariri home in a Melbourne Cup, I know who I'm backing. It's Hariri. How about Cancello? I think it's cast, mate. I think he's killed it. I think it's dead. Yeah. So benchmark 72 Hariri. So yeah, it needs to rack up some points to get to bigger fish to fry in the spring. And because it's a horse that's probably not going to come into its own until it gets to 2400, you wouldn't want the pressure of wanting to win staying races. So maybe that's why he's kept it up. Maybe that's why he's kept it up. But yeah, that's probably it, is it, for the Saturday ones? We've got sort of Stradbrokes and things. JJ Atkins the week later, pretty exciting day that day. And I'm getting forced to go to Melbourne and freeze my ass off and sit in an office with Nick Heathcote and Johnny McLeod and try and win a trip to Hong Kong. But that'll be a good race, Stradbroke. Look at them all. They're all in there. Steffi Magnetica. Freedom Rally's dead set like 60th on the list, isn't it? $15 chance. I thought I saw someone say after the race it was like 60th on the list. You can finally go watch The Warrior in Hong Kong. Yeah. We've got a moral with Molly riding tomorrow. I'm not even going to look. All right. Yeah, keep an eye. From all of it, I'd say just keep an eye on it. If you get sort of $10 plus Hariri when final fields come out, I think it's a decent price as long as there's no. Well, let's have a look. mightyYR.no. What do we say? We've got to translate it. Can we translate it from Callum? Choose language. Callum language to English. Eagle Farm. So no rain all week, really. But we should get it something around a 5 or something. I'm not looking. Ruby Lace. You can watch Kaying Rising in December. Mate, I don't plan for Thursday. I don't plan for Thursday. What day is it tomorrow? Tuesday? What race? Will they even race? What's it called? What race is it in? Ruby Lace. Oh my God, Teresa Batehup, Molly Burke. You're going to make me watch this. This is my horse.
Well, the arm bends, Kayla Nisbet for Laurie Parker, and it's been very well back. Probably the best.
You're tipping me my own horse.
Away Strip was into second position. Battle Lace going prim. Good night, Bale.
She's butchered it twice in a row.
Then came and Maruna in front. Need of a run. Past the two. No-Nays. Ruby Luck. Missy No-Nays in front, though. Heavily back. Straight to the front. Missy No-Nay all the way.
And then butchered it again. Well, I didn't butcher it. It was in the worst race of all time the other day. That was just when the track was absolutely cast. It's that 4 wide pulling its ears off. Wasn't really her fault. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through 28 runners here at this point in time, but I will guarantee you that there is no such thing as a moral with Molly on it. Molly's are better than Andrews. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later in the week. Thank you for coming. Yeah, it wasn't too exciting, but there'll be interesting, hard meetings to review because of the conditions. But I do think there's a few races there that there'll be plenty of winners come out of that we talked about, and there's certainly races that are worth giving quite a few runners back in the week, back in the pack. Back Andrew. Back Andrew, back any Andrew you can. Cheers. Talk to you later. What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.